We'll start the show in just a second, but first I want to tell you about today's sponsors. Nebbia is a revolutionary showerhead that saves you money by using 45% less water, but with a stream of water that's way more powerful than what you get with other showerheads. To get 15% off, go to nebbia.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. Magic Spoon is the cereal that tastes exactly like the delicious cereals from your childhood, except it has no sugar, tons of protein, and only 3 net carbs, so it's perfect for a keto diet. To get free shipping, go to magicspoon.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. Blinkist is the app that helps you become a more well-rounded person by letting you read or listen to an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. You can try it for free and get 25% off a subscription by going to Blinkist.com/David Pakman. So Donald Trump's casual musings about the potential to declare martial law reportedly have the military on red alert, but not on red alert to participate in enforcing the martial law. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The military is not on red alert preparing to enforce martial law, which is a suspension of civil law in lieu of military justice becoming the law of the land. The military is on red alert, not because they want to be prepared to help Trump. They want to be prepared in case protesters go so crazy if Trump tries to install martial law that the military might be required to help quell violence and restore order. Multiple officers who spoke to Newsweek, of course on the condition of anonymity, agree that there's no chance whatsoever that the military would actually try to help Donald Trump overturn the results or enforce the martial law that Trump is supposedly musing and wondering about. But what the military officers are worried about is that by trying to push martial law, if Trump were to do it, that the military could end up getting sucked into having to clean up the mess that Donald Trump might make. And the thought is that Donald Trump could inadvertently or deliberately rally so-called private militias and pro-Trump paramilitary types, and the military could end up being needed to help protect from those groups. Now, the consensus is that there's no group or contingent or cabal of military officers that would actually go with Donald Trump's idea, but the military could end up needing to come to the defense of the people depending on what happens. And notably, the contingency planning is happening completely out of sight of the White House and the known Trump loyalists at the Pentagon, because the military recognizes that if you involve the White House or Trump loyalists in the Pentagon and let them know that you're planning in this way, they may actually try to interfere with what you're doing or even notify Donald Trump. And along those lines, the other crazy aspect of this is that top military brass understand that if they publicly said we would never support any attempt at martial law because Trump thinks he really won when he lost, they recognize that if they went public with their names, it could make Trump go absolutely crazy and make him more likely to try this stuff. So the reporting is that the military officer community is just kind of laying low, contingency planning out of sight, but not attaching their names to any specific public rebukes of Donald Trump's martial law musings. And to be frank, I understand that. And the question comes up of whether Donald Trump, absent support from the military, would try to pull in Blackwater type mercenary groups or others, which would be just a new level of insanity. And hopefully it will never come to that. Donald Trump just went to Florida for the holiday, and there's the idea that Trump may never even come back to Washington, D.C. Like, he may just stay in Florida. This will all fade away and be nothing, or not. We don't know. I've actually already left the country. I've not even been in the U.S. for a bit. I'm not going to be back until after the inauguration. The show will look the same. I've been mentioning, multiple studios lately. Nothing will change when we get back from New Year's break. But I'm beating the rush, and I'm just going to be elsewhere for the next period of time. Why chance it? That's my approach. And then just one last thing. This is also part of why the Electoral College should really be gotten rid of. Biden won by about 8 million votes, but about 100,000 votes in a few swing states were the margin that provided the electoral victory. The electoral victory seems much more plausibly overturnable when it comes down to 100,000 votes in a handful of states. Whereas how do you even plausibly claim to try to circumvent an 8 million vote loss? Just another signal about the importance of continuing to fight to get rid of the Electoral College. And that's even a separate issue than the Electoral College helps Republican presidents. Yes, it does. But regardless of that, there are other reasons to get rid of it. So on Tuesday, Donald Trump did this video screed where he had sort of like conflicting and confused reasons for which he was threatening to veto the second coronavirus stimulus package. On Wednesday, he did veto that package. And one of the things Donald Trump said he wanted is a $2,000 stimulus check rather than a $600 stimulus check. Now, very conveniently, many Democrats, including our friend Ro Khanna, have been talking about $2,000 per person for a while. And as soon as Donald Trump said, I want $2,000, many Democrats said, great, let's work together on it. We're ready to do it. But the Republican Party has blocked an attempt. Democrats did move to increase the size of the checks when Trump said, let's do 2,000. And it is not going to happen because yesterday House Republicans blocked the attempt by Democrats to do $2,000 payments. And now we are simply waiting on whether the House will vote to override Trump's veto on Monday, and whether, if that happens, the Senate will vote to override Trump's veto on Tuesday. But it is it's just not going anywhere. The Republican Party has been arguing for less and less money, and the House tried to pass $2,000 payments on Christmas Eve day. So yesterday during the day, they had a brief meeting of the House where Democrats tried to approve $2,000 payments by unanimous consent, which means any one lawmaker can block it. It's not a 50 plus or supermajority or whatever. It is simply any one Republican, any one lawmaker can block it. Congressman Steny Hoyer, Democrat, offered the proposal from the floor, and it was blocked by House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. And that is it. So there's really no expectation at this point that that is going to happen under Trump's watch. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that on Monday she will do a recorded vote on the $2,000 payments. But I mean, it's not going to make any difference at this point in time. Democrats continue to tell Trump, just sign the bill. And listen, one of the other problems here is, why is the government funding bill part of the same vote as the COVID stimulus bill? We know why. This is a common thing that's done in Congress. The idea is, if you're against a bunch of stuff one party wants to do, you say, let's join this vote with the stuff we want to do. You do one vote for both bills. And then 20 years later, much like we've seen happen with Bernie and Joe Biden and others, when you're asked, why did you vote in favor of Bill A? And you say, listen, I wasn't really in favor of Bill A. I was in favor of Bill B. But our colleagues on the other side said the only way they would support it is if we wrapped it up with Bill A. I found it so important to get the people $600 instead of $0 that I conceded. I said, I'll give them Bill A because they're giving me Bill B, which I think is the right bill for helping people. This is politics. This is how it always works. It's disgusting. There's no actual reason that you couldn't have one vote on COVID stimulus and then separately one vote on government funding. But that is the way that they have done it. And one of the interesting sort of little details is, we talked yesterday about how Donald Trump has turned on basically everybody around him. Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo. He believes none of them are supporting him in his bid to overturn the election results. Mitch McConnell's also on that list. And Mitch McConnell has been against more stimulus for months. And when it's a conversation about stimulus, he wants the smallest possible stimulus. Since Trump suggested the $2,000 payments, Mitch McConnell has been silent about the demand for the $2,000 payments. And it is just, who really loses here? It's the people, right? And this is why when we talk about political posturing by either side, when we talk about all of these different public moves that do nothing to actually get help to people to be any closer to a reality, we have to remember that a bunch of this stuff is almost as bad on the Democratic side as the Republican side. So we'll see what happens Monday with the House vote on overriding Trump's veto. We'll see what happens Tuesday conditionally with the Senate voting to override that same veto. And maybe by mid-January, payments could be going to people. It will take at least a couple of weeks, it is believed, once, if and when this is approved, for money to get into anybody's hands. So certainly 2021, this is not going to be 2020 money in the best case at all. We've got a great program for you today. We will be off all of next week. The show will be off next week. Just reminding everybody, no show next week. And then we will be back with you in the new year. But we still have plenty going on today. Remember that on January 1st, 1/1/21, we have a huge membership special going on. If you want to be notified about it, just get on my newsletter at davidpakman.com. This is the type of membership special people have never even heard of before, never mind seen. All right. So get on that mailing list at davidpakman.com. Quick break, much more.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
One of our sponsors today is Nebbia, the creator of the world's most innovative shower head. It uses only about half the water that other shower heads do, saving you money, helping the environment. But it's actually a lot more powerful than other shower heads on the market. It has twice the coverage of other shower heads. The water sprays with a ton of pressure. I've been using it in my bathroom at home. I love it. Only took a few minutes to set up, really easy, and it's been a totally different experience than any other shower head I've used. I can get in and out of the shower way quicker now because of how powerful it is. It only takes a few seconds to get completely rinsed off. So I was actually amazed that it's only using about half as much water. Nebbia also offers a number of shower accessories like shelves and curtains, which match perfectly with the design of the shower head. The shower head starts at just $199, but the first 100 people to go to nebbia.com/Pakman and use code Pakman will get 15% off all Nebbia products.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Remember that the number one way to support the David Pakman Show, you all know it, it's a membership at joinpakman.com, and you can use the coupon code, at least if and until Joe Biden makes these codes illegal. You can use the coupon code Fresh Start to get a massive discount off of a membership. Joinpakman.com is the place to do it. Let's go to the phones for the absolute last final time of 2020 on Discord at davidpakman.com/Discord. Let's first go to Kate in Ohio. Kate in Ohio, what is going on?
Not much, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Cool. So, do I ask you a question?
That would be a great next step. Yeah, let's do it.
So do you think it's politically important to eventually abolish the Electoral College, as really it's the only way Republicans can win the elections nowadays, as their ideas are generally becoming less popular?
Yes, I do. I do think so. And we've talked before about the paths to doing it. I don't really see any path. You can never say never. I don't see any path anytime soon to doing it via constitutional amendment because there are so many red states that know that their candidates have won solely because we have an electoral college system instead of a popular vote system. So if it's going to happen even relatively soon, I believe it would be through something like the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, NPVIC. I've talked about that before, but yes, I think now it is true what Republicans say, that if we had a national popular vote, they would run elections differently. And Trump has said that. But regardless, I think it would be a massive uphill battle for the Republican Party to climb.
Okay, cool.
All right.
And,
Thanks very much, Kate. I appreciate it. Great to hear from Kate from Ohio. Let's go next to Manraj from Chicago. Did I get that name right?
Yeah, you got that name right. Good job on it. And I just want to say I love the show. Been a member and very excited to
Thank you.
Get to ask you a question. So I'm just going to ask you a quick two-part question. So the first is, what kind of pressure can leftists and progressive expect to have over the policy agenda of a Biden administration if we, I don't think it's going to happen, but let's say we get the 50 senators and we get the 2 in Georgia. If that does happen, what kind of, influence we can exert on that? And then just follow up to that, with Florida and especially, the $15 minimum wage law that passed through a direct ballot initiative, do you see that as more of a winning strategy to push for those kind of initiatives for the left?
Well, so there's a couple different things there. Let's first talk about the pressure that Democrats could put on Joe Biden. If Democrats take the Senate because Democrats get the 2 seats in Georgia, it will be 50-50, meaning Joe Biden, anything he wants to get done, he will likely need every single Democratic senator. Now, if you lose one like Joe Manchin, as we talk about, then you'll need a Republican senator. So the point is, Joe Biden, if he has a 50-50 Senate with Kamala as the tie-breaking vote, he can't afford to lose a single Democrat to get big things done. Meaning that is the leverage that the more progressive Democrats in the Senate can say, you need every single one of our votes to do A, you've got to work with us on B. That's the leverage. That leverage doesn't exist if Democrats don't win the 2 Georgia Senate races. So is that part clear?
Yeah. And, I think I always saw it the other way where the Joe Manchins have the leverage to pull their votes. But I guess I didn't realize that, hey, progressive senators, the Liz Warrens and whatnot, they have that same leverage.
Anybody could. Exactly. Yeah, now, in terms of direct ballot initiatives, I love direct ballot initiatives, but direct ballot initiatives happen at the municipal and state level. So we're talking about different things altogether. The direct ballot initiative is not going to be a replacement to the House and Senate passing something and it being signed into law by Joe Biden. In most cases, there are things you could say, listen, if you do these in all 50 states, the effect will be just as if Joe Biden got it done through the House and Senate. But in practice, I can't think of anything that would get through all 50 states. So it's a different tool for different projects.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a very good explanation for it. And just love your show and doing great work.
So how cold is it in Chicago these days?
It's not too bad. I guess my gauge of it is how much, my dog likes to be outside. And right now he hasn't. He's, let's just say I'm sick of the walk before he is. So that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I mean, even here in New York City, we've had some close to 60-degree days. So it's quite a scene. All right, my friend, I appreciate the call. I mean, it's probably bad. It probably relates to climate change, but it's certainly pleasant if nothing else. Let's go next to why don't we go? Oh, I don't know. There's just so many people. Let's go to Christopher from Houston, Texas. Christopher from Houston, what's going on?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. The voice is coming through very oddly, but I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking in my Ford Fusion right now, so.
Ford Fusion. Now, I believe Ford Fusion is one of the latest vehicles that is going from being available in a stick shift to automatic only. Is that correct?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not totally sure.
Beautiful. I love it.
All right, so I'm a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy, and I do home health. So I go to people's houses and help them out in the home after they've gone home from the hospital.
Yep.
And I guess I just wanted to kind of give kind of a ground report of what it's like in rural Texas before the election. Like every other house, Fox News was on full blast all the time, And then now we're at like 50-50 Newsmax and Fox News, all the time. So that's
now let me ask you this. This is such a dumb question in the sense that I should know this, but I only consume any of this stuff online. Is Newsmax on regular cable for people, or is it only on sat? Like, how do you? I'm only familiar with getting Newsmax on the computer. Is it part of people's cable packages down there?
I really have no idea. Maybe they're savvy and they got some internet TV going on, but so I'm not exactly sure. I just noticed that they're on their TVs while I'm trying to do the therapy, and I have to tell them to mute the TV because I can't hear myself talk.
And have any of the people that you're working with, do they let slip bonkers conspiracy theories that they would have gotten from Newsmax?
Absolutely, like daily. So I kind of act undercover while I'm working with them. I be like, oh yeah, that's crazy. Like totally, the Democrats are basically bought off by China and everything, blah blah blah. Just to kind of.
Oh, you play along, in other words.
Yeah, because if they don't agree with me, it's harder for me to work with them, do my therapy and all that.
I understand that.
It's kind of interesting to see the range of opinions out here in rural Texas. So.
All right. Well, listen, I don't envy you, and keep up the good work, and let's hope things improve.
All right, thanks. I love the show.
All right, thanks very much. Wow, yeah, that sounds pretty bonkers. Why don't we go next to? This is interesting. Let's go to Maria from Colombia, but calling from Germany. Do I have that right, Maria?
Yes, you're right.
I love it. What now? I don't know if you've heard this caller, Pedro from Colombia, who clearly is not from Colombia. What part of Colombia are you actually from?
I'm from Bogota.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's a clear answer, and so I believe you.
Okay.
Good.
That's an easy one. But yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Pedro doesn't have a Colombian accent. Yeah.
No, not at all. Okay, good. Oh, by the way, I am watching you might find this interesting, Maria. I have started watching a Netflix series called Perdida, which takes place mostly in Colombia, and it's quite good.
I have not heard of it, but
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it. Yeah,
Please.
definitely.
But
Yes,
enough
well,
about me. What's on your mind today?
on my mind, well, I have family issues trying to communicate with them. And I remember that once you said that, for example, to talk about controversial issues like abortion, it's good to have like a common ground, like what everyone should agree on. And for example, yeah, everyone should agree on having less abortions, even if you're pro-choice or if you're pro-life. And that has helped me a lot. And I was wondering whether you have another topic in mind that it's controversial, but that we can find a common ground. Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Ooh,
What's
I mean,
on your mind?
there's so many. It would be better if you had a topic that you're looking to discuss, and we could think about the best way to do it. Is there a particular topic that is a problem right now?
Well, regarding COVID, I think, well, right now, my family, right now, especially my grandfather, he's suffering now from COVID, and his saturation levels are very low. And it feels like, yeah, I'm hopeless. I don't know. I wish I could communicate with them a lot better, but yeah, it's complicated.
But is it that your family, they're not taking the virus seriously, or they believe it's a hoax, or what's the disagreement?
They believe at the beginning they thought it was a hoax. Now, one of my uncles, he got infected and he was on a ventilator for 86 days. He survived, yes, but still, it seemed like, well, actually, I guess everything starts with a lack of trust on the healthcare workers. I think that's the main issue. And
what's
yeah, I
interesting
think
about that, here's the opportunity, right? Here's the opportunity. If if your family doesn't trust the healthcare workers, the best way to avoid having to interact with them is not to get the virus. So where I might approach this is, hey, you know what? Nobody wants to have to deal with healthcare workers if you don't have to. So that should be extra incentive to stay healthy so we don't end up needing healthcare workers to do anything for us. I would probably think of that as the entry point.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds very reasonable. Yeah.
But now, to understand, the family that you're referring to, they're in Germany or they're in Colombia or they're somewhere else?
Well, my grandfather and my aunts, they're in Southern California. So yeah.
Okay, got
Complex.
it. So it's all over the place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, that sounds tough, but that's my thought, Maria.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
I really like your show. I appreciate your opinion. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, is there someone else there now?
Yes, my boyfriend.
Oh, okay. Is he Colombian?
Yes.
Oh, he is. Oh, all right. Well, listen, you are the real Colombian callers, and you are replacing Pedro from Colombia. So congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. Okay. Let's take a very quick break. But if you're holding, don't hang up. I mean, hang up if you want to, but you have an opportunity to speak with me if you keep holding, because we'll go right back to the phones momentarily.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
One of our sponsors today is Magic Spoon. The reason I'm such a fan of Magic Spoon is they allow me to enjoy the delicious breakfast cereals I loved as a kid without all the sugar and without the unhealthy ingredients, because Magic Spoon makes breakfast cereal that you really can't tell apart from those tasty sugary cereals that we all know. But each serving of Magic Spoon has no sugar, 3 net carbs, and 11 grams of protein. So it's perfect for someone on a low carb keto diet, just anybody trying to eat healthier and cut back on the sugar. You can choose from cocoa, frosted fruity, cinnamon, blueberry, or peanut butter. They all taste amazing. And Magic Spoon now lets you create your own customized variety pack with the flavors you choose. They really do stand by their product and will refund 100% of your money if you don't love it. No questions asked. Go to magicspoon.com/Pakman to build your own custom variety box today. Make sure to use promo code Pakman to get free shipping. The link is right underneath this video.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Okay, we are taking your calls for the last time before 2021 via Discord, davidpakman.com/Discord. Let's go down to our friendly neighbors to the south in Miami. Let's go to Jacobo from Miami. You are on the air.
Hi, David. Oh my God. Wow. I can't believe you just... Hi.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
So I'm like 16 years old. I'm from Miami. I really like your show.
Thank you.
And I wanted to know if you've heard of the $2,000 proposal that Donald Trump has talked about.
Yes. I mean, we did a whole segment about it after the after Trump's weird 4-minute speech. What's crazy is I agree with Trump. $2,000 would be a great number. And reminder, I'm getting zero. This is not for me. I'm not trying to get more money for myself. You understand, Jacobo?
Yeah.
Good. The problem is, in the same speech, Trump said Democrats have prevented anything from happening for months. Democrats proposed $2,000 6 months ago, and it went nowhere because of Republicans. So I agree with Trump in that I like the idea of $2,000, which was also brought up by Ro Khanna. It was also brought up by lots of other people. But his 4-minute speech was just filled with lies.
Yeah. But I also saw that like he was mentioning that like there should be stuff taken out of the bill. One of the things that I saw was $500 million for Israel or something.
Right. So a couple different things. First of all, Trump didn't mention Israel. Trump mentioned other countries. It's also not true that Israel gets 500 million. A lot of the countries that are listed, there's money allocated, but it's really money for American businesses, which a lot of people don't understand. And in addition to that, that stuff isn't in the COVID bill. They did two bills together. It was an omnibus where they did the spending bill to keep government open, and they did the COVID bill. So it's not even part of the same bill. And then like the third or fourth lie in all of that is Trump criticized the money that some countries are getting, not from the COVID bill, but from the spending bill. But Trump requested that they get that money months ago when he put together his budget. So it's like it's 5 or 6 layers of deception.
Okay. Thank you for clearing it up for me. Because
yeah, I don't know that I did. I mean, the lies are so intertwined that I feel like it's hard to even explain them all.
Yeah. Because when he mentioned that, I wouldn't think Trump, out of the kindness of his heart, at the end of his presidency, would give every American
right.
$2,000.
Your instinct is correct.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking my call.
All right. My pleasure. There is 16-year-old Jacobo from Miami. I love it. Let's go next to, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Is it Kian in Queens, or is it Kian?
Hi, it's Kian.
Kian. All right. All right. So the first one was wrong, but I got it right on the second try.
Right. Good job.
What's going on?
I love your show, and I have 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one is about my prediction that Kamala Harris will be running in 2024 and probably nominating Pete as her VP if she decides that his sexual orientation is not a risk.
Okay.
But anyway, I think that Kamala is smart enough to know that her and Biden cannot piss off the progressives during their term. And otherwise, the turnout in 2024 would be, if it's even just 5% lower, it could be detrimental to her chances. So my instinct tells me that she would push Biden to do a few more things that would make progressives happy, so that she can tout her accomplishments during her presidential run next time. So, for example, student loan forgiveness would be one thing that I would think that she would be pushing, because I don't see really any negative to Biden, any his idea about, I guess it's 10,000 he wants to forgive now, but I don't see any negative to him increasing that. And I just think that all of the people that would feel the relief from that student loan forgiveness would remember in 2024, and they would be more excited and have a reason to actually come out to vote for her.
So a few thoughts on that. A few thoughts on that. A couple different things. Number one, remember, Joe Biden can't get a lot of the things done. I don't actually think Joe Biden can do even this student loan thing if he doesn't get control of the Senate. I just don't know. I don't believe you can do that via executive order. And I don't see how he gets student loan forgiveness done without Democrats controlling the Senate. So it's very important to understand that a lot of what you're talking about is very nuanced and important and reasonable. But it's not simply up to, does Kamala make sure Joe Biden throws some bones to progressives to help him or her in 2024? It's not just up to Kamala convincing Joe Biden. There's realities here where without the Senate, I don't see how any of this stuff gets done. That's sort of like number one. Number two, I do agree. And, there was this earlier caller about how do progressives keep Biden accountable? If Democrats take the Senate, the way they keep Biden accountable is Biden can't afford to lose a single Democratic vote in the Senate. And that includes Joe Manchin as much as it includes Bernie Sanders. So I think that's the answer to that piece. But a lot of what you're saying is spot on, except it's not up to Kamala to convince Joe because it's legislatively difficult without the Senate.
Okay. Thanks. And I have a second question. Related to Nina Turner, and she recently announced that she's running for Ohio's 11th district.
Okay.
So I feel really excited about this opportunity, having at least one more non-corrupt person in Congress. And I feel the same way that I felt when Cenk Uygur from TYT ran for a seat in California. So when Cenk ran, he announced his candidacy, I was like so hopeful, and I was almost certain that he would pull out a win, given his national profile and support from across the nation. And so, as like you may know, and your viewers might know, that Cenk got trounced by the establishment candidate in California, and that really surprised me. So do you see any similarities with Nina's candidacy, where it looks like she would be a shoo-in with such a national profile and, you know, lots of grassroots funding available to her? Yet,
I really don't know. To be perfectly frank, I don't know enough about that district, and I don't know enough about the level to which Nina is known nationally. Like, I know about her, and I know she appears on national media with relative frequency. I just don't have all the information. It might be a similar situation to Cenk, or she might end up, you know, wiping the floor in the 11th in Ohio. I just don't know enough to be able to say about that district.
Okay, well, I'll just remain hopeful about both issues, with Kamala trying to push Biden and Nina hopefully eking out a win. And thank you for your time, and I enjoy your show.
Thank you. I appreciate the call, and it seemed to quote myself on previous calls, it seems like there's a lot going on there. So I'm going to let you go, but I really do appreciate the call. We are listening to the questions and comments from folks through Discord, davidpakman.com/Discord. Speaking of Ohio, let's go to Chris in Cincinnati. Chris, you're on the air.
Hi, thank you so much, David. So I just want to start a little bit with a point in which we can agree on, because I do kind of want to pressure you a little bit onto your thought on the AOC kind of controversy. So would you say that if your goal is progressive policy and a non-corrupt government, that Pelosi probably wouldn't be a good Speaker of the House?
You're saying in a vacuum? I don't think about it that way. I don't think Pelosi. I'm not excited by Nancy Pelosi because I just don't find her to be nearly progressive enough. So my preference would be for a more progressive Speaker of the House. Absent any other political realities, in a vacuum, I'd rather someone more progressive than Nancy Pelosi.
Right. I think we can agree on that. So I think politics 101, right? If you don't agree with a specific vote, right, you don't agree with voting for Nancy Pelosi for progressive policy, then you, of course, want to leverage your vote, right? You'd want to get something out of voting for Pelosi, whether that be a more progressive Speaker of the House, which is very unlikely, or maybe getting some political concessions out of Speaker Pelosi, correct?
Those would certainly be things that one could seek, yes. Right.
So what AOC came out and said, what she would be trying to leverage for her vote, the first thing she said was a $15 minimum wage, which is incongruent with any sort of leverage, because Pelosi and Biden already said they're fighting for that. So it doesn't really make sense. And at best, it's just kind of misleading and gaslighting.
Okay, but hold on a second. Can we talk about that?
Yeah,
when you say what AOC would want in exchange for her vote for Nancy would be a $15 minimum wage. The language is a little bit confusing, because how would AOC voting for Nancy Pelosi get a $15 minimum wage? Do you mean a vote on a $15 minimum wage, or what specifically?
Right,
do you mean?
That's a great question. So what AOC tweeted, what she said in response to how she's leveraging her vote for Nancy Pelosi, it would be, if I vote for Nancy Pelosi, I have backdoor kind of conversations with Nancy Pelosi and make an agreement with her that I will support her for a $15 minimum wage if I support Nancy Pelosi.
Hold on a second. No, I think you just said something totally. I will support her for a $15 minimum wage if I think maybe you just misspoke. Can you say that again? AOC said what exactly?
Okay, so you can read the tweet that she said, but she's saying she's leveraging her vote for Speaker Pelosi in order to get a $15 minimum wage. That was directly her tweet. She did it in response to Justin Jackson on Twitter.
Okay, I'm just saying I don't fully understand what it means that she wants to getting a $15 minimum wage is something that would have to pass the House, Senate, and be signed into law by the president. So I'm trying to understand I'm not saying you're giving me wrong information. I don't understand what it means that she's leveraging her vote for a $15 minimum wage, because I just don't see how Nancy Pelosi can make that happen. Is she talking about a vote on a $15 minimum wage?
That's a great question. I think like these kinds of the exact question that you're bringing up is kind of proof that what AOC is saying in response to leveraging her vote is kind of incongruent with not only the way that this would work properly, but also like
that may be. I guess it depends on what AOC meant. I'm just not totally, since I haven't seen the tweet. It's possible that it's clear what AOC meant in the tweet, but I'm not hearing it from you. I just don't know.
Well, maybe we shouldn't stick on that then. But I think the point is still there. I just find it interesting that there's a whole debacle on AOC's response to Justin Jackson in part of this controversy, and that was really part of it. And
that's part of what, though? I'm trying to say, what is the main point? What is the main point?
It was part of the disagreement about forcing the vote. Part of that disagreement saying AOC wasn't left enough, right? I mean, I'm not going to say
Hold
that.
on, the disagreement
from intentions for AOC, right?
Listen, I don't know that. I want to have this conversation. I just am really struggling to know what you're talking about. When you say that was part of the disagreement, what was part of which disagreement between which parties?
So there was a disagreement between people on the left, like Jimmy Dore, who's okay. There was a disagreement between Justin Jackson and Breonna Joy Gray and Secular Talk with AOC's policy-making decisions in how she's leveraging her vote for Speaker Pelosi.
Okay.
And this disagreement was on Twitter, and it came in AOC's response to Justin Jackson on Twitter. And that's what really sparked the controversy of Force the Vote. On top of Jimmy Dore's crazy outward rants about how AOC's corrupt, which I don't support, right?
Okay.
So AOC said in response to Justin Jackson saying on Twitter that if you don't leverage your vote for Medicare for All, which is like hashtag force the vote, then you are showing who you truly are. Kind of saying like it's a litmus test. And AOC responded to Justin Jackson saying we are leveraging our vote and we're doing it for a $15 minimum wage.
Okay, who is Justin Jackson?
Sure, he's he's an NFL football player, but on Twitter he's a very active leftist who frequently goes on like Katie Halper's show and Breonna Joy Gray's Bad Faith podcast.
Okay, I don't know who. So I'm going to try to bring this back. Maybe this is just not the right venue. I don't know who Katie Halper is. I know Breonna Joy Gray was Bernie's former person. We're like 10 layers deep in telephone. Was there a specific question for me on policy?
Sure. Yes. Okay. On policy, I would hope that you could just a little expand on what you think would be the best way to leverage your vote for Speaker Pelosi. Like maybe we could talk about that, or you could expand on if we're going to vote for Nancy Pelosi, progressives, I mean, and you're going to vote for someone that we don't clearly agree with. We already said that. What is the best way we should leverage our vote for Speaker Pelosi?
Okay, I have a segment coming up about this, and I'm going to lay out in detail exactly the things that I think would be more reasonable. But if we're going to stay even in this paradigm, if I were AOC, and this doesn't mean this is the right thing or the wrong thing, I would be more interested in pushing for something that if I'm going to hold my vote hostage, I don't want to do it for a naughty nice list on Medicare for All. I would rather do it on standing firm on $1,200 or $2,000 for people that need it, just as one example. Like I can come up with all sorts of other examples, but I think there's actually a bigger picture question here about the types of things that members of Congress can try to get from the speaker that are beyond symbolic votes to do a naughty and nice list, which includes things related to committeeships. And it's a long list, and I'm going to have that clip very soon.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry if it was either unclear, but I love your show.
Thank you.
And as a leading remark, Brianna Joy Gray had a great article on like what this kind of effect would have, and also David Sirota on how to leverage your vote properly. But thank you so much, David.
All right, very good. Pleasure. Hopefully we were able to make some sense out of that eventually. I mean, I think we got to something interesting ultimately. Let's go next to, I guess this is this Ron from Los Angeles? Or is this A.A. Ron from Los Angeles? Is it Aaron from Los Angeles? It might not matter because I think this person's self-muted and they're not around. Last chance for Ron, A. Ron, or just Aaron from Los Angeles. All right, they're gone. That's too bad. Let's go next to Enoch from Pittsburgh. You're on the air.
Hello. Yeah, hi. First up, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
So I just have a question about the Congress vote that's coming up in, I believe it's January 6th.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is partially of my ignorance because I'm still a little new to the politics and how all of this works. I'm honestly, just learning about the Congress vote to certify the Electoral College. And I know it has been reported that several senators and congressmen were planning to vote against the Electoral College votes. And I'm just wondering if you think that it's still possible for Trump and his supporters within the Congress to try to steal the election by voting against the Electoral College results.
No, I don't think so. Back in the year, remember that the role of the vice president is simply to count the votes, not to decide whether votes are valid or anything like that. So I do expect that there will be Republican members of the House and maybe even the Senate who, when certain votes are counted, will stand up and present an objection. Democrats tried this in the year 2000 when the entire presidential election between Al Gore and George W. Bush depended on Florida. Democrats stood up and objected to the counting of the Florida electoral votes, and they were able to do nothing to stop it. In this case, it doesn't even come down to one state. It comes down to multiple states. So I expect objections. I don't expect them to have any impact.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I was just asking because I guess the way I understood it was if they vote against those votes that I guess they need to vote again. But I guess that was my not understanding of the topic.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. I don't expect that to happen, but we'll be covering it live on January 6th. That's for sure. All right. I'm sorry I wasn't able to talk to more folks today, but we will take calls again in 2021. Quick break, some audience questions coming up after this short break.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
What if you could read 10 books in just one sitting? That's exactly what one of my favorite apps lets you do. It's called Blinkist, and what they do is take thousands of popular nonfiction books. They condense them down into text or audio that you can consume in 15 minutes. Blinkist makes sure that you're getting all of the important core insights from each book. So it's perfect for exploring a book you otherwise wouldn't have time for. If there's a full book you're thinking about buying, you can use Blinkist to get a sample first. Just think how much you can enrich yourself by being able to soak up an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month. And you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/David Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
All right, let's get into audience questions for the week and the last set of audience questions of 2020. Very exciting. Okay, first question. David, we hear all the bluster from Trump, special counsel, martial law, he won, lawsuits, all of this other stuff. Is Trump genuinely going to try to physically stay in the White House after January 20th? I think the answer is still no. I know that we reported on Trump floating or suggesting to some of his aides, maybe I just won't leave sort of thing. I think that Donald Trump either already knows or will become convinced by the time January 20th rolls around that it would be really, really embarrassing for himself to, have to be escorted out of the White House, or for reports to be that he was refusing to leave or something like that. Now, the truth is, he probably has some followers that are so sycophantic that if Trump tried it, they would see it as some kind of act of defiant heroism rather than the corrosive act for the country that it would be. But I do believe that, Trump's kids, I think, would all get it. Like, you can't physically try to stay. It would be humiliating to try to do it. I don't think he's actually going to try to do it. Now, between now and then, he will continue to insist he won. He will continue to tweet the things he's been tweeting and look at, could I maybe get this overturned in some way? But even Donald Trump, I am sure, recognizes that just staying there, absent any court decision about, not accepting results, or these things are all going by the wayside every time we reach a new milestone in the process of certifying and electors voting and all of that. I think even Trump recognizes, absent something tangible to say, look, this state has flipped now or something, I don't think he's going to physically try to do it. Now, I admit that as someone who covers this stuff, Trump talks about ratings. I can imagine no greater ratings than video of Donald Trump being forcibly removed from the White House. But I don't believe it will happen. It would be absolutely terrible for the country. I believe really the milestone date for Trump will be January 6th. I think on January 6th, Mike Pence is planning, after the official counting of the electoral votes, which have already been cast. Remember, January 6th is just the formalization of a joint session of the House and Senate counting those votes. Mike Pence is scheduled to, within hours, leave the country and go on a trip to, I think it's Poland and maybe UAE. I don't remember exactly the countries. And I would not be surprised if Trump is even still in Washington by then. There's rumors he may be leaving sooner. For Trump to completely disappear and maybe even abandon the White House. I don't know. There's the idea he'll stay in the White House and then fly to a rally on Inauguration Day. There's the idea he'll never return from Christmas and just stay in Florida. There's the idea that January 6th, maybe when he sort of formally gives it up and we stop hearing from him altogether. But I believe that he is not. If the question is, will Trump try and consider any mechanism or manipulation that might allow him to steal the election? The answer is, of course, yes. And he's thought of everything, lawsuits of different kinds, trying to send different electors, convincing state legislatures and governors to send different electors. That came and went. Seizing voting machines, which some of his lawyers told him you can't do. Martial law was reportedly floated. All of these different ideas. He's morally willing to do any of it, but I do not believe he will physically try to stay in the Oval Office. No. Next question. Will Republicans consider Biden illegitimate for 4 years? Yeah, I think that this is sort of a good question to be asking. The questions about will Biden really be sworn in seem like a waste of time. The questions about can Donald Trump really do this, that, all of these 6, 7, 8 different things that he's floated or others have floated as ways to maybe steal the election. We mentioned some of them earlier, lawsuits or seizing voting machines, having governors send different electors. None of that stuff is going to happen. I think the right question is, how corrosive is Donald Trump insisting on this stuff to democracy? And in particular, the way in which Donald Trump maybe never conceding and insisting he actually won will affect the Republican Party through Joe Biden's first 2 years and 4 years in the Oval Office. Now, I think there's two sides of it. One is how will it affect Republican officials? And the second part is how will it affect Republican voters? Let's do voters first, because I think that one's really easy. I think it's very clear at this point that the combination of Trump insisting it was, I mean, just listen to the voicemails I get. People are convinced Trump insisting he really won, combined with Newsmax and OAN and, you know, all of the different the different hosts and characters that have been insisting Trump actually won. That will leave a significant portion of the 75 million who voted for Trump believing Joe Biden is an illegitimate president for the duration of Joe Biden's term. There's no question about that. One is easy for me. The voters have been affected. Many believe Trump won, etc. Full stop. The more interesting question in terms of Biden's governance, because Biden can't really do anything about millions of Republicans thinking he's an illegitimate president. The real question is about Biden's governance. And will Republican elected officials, Republicans in the Senate, Republicans in the House of Representatives, and Republican governors around the country, will they in some way resist working with Biden in any way, specifically by failing to recognize him as a legitimate president? And I think it comes down to how visible Trump will be after January 20th. If we've already seen more and more Republicans just say Biden won. Mitch McConnell even congratulated Biden last week. We covered that. Trump was very triggered by it. If Donald Trump just sort of evaporates politically, fades away on January 20th or before or slightly after, I think you will see the vast majority of Republicans go back to dealing with Joe Biden the way they dealt with Barack Obama, which is there will be some who said Barack Obama wasn't really born here and isn't a legitimate president. But for the most part, they did the normal Republican things: obstruct, pretend to be worried about the debt and deficit, call things government takeovers anytime the Democratic president wants to do something. I think that's what you will see most Republicans go back to. Now, the difference is there are some really wacky Congress people elect ready to be sworn in the House of Representatives in just days. And I think that regardless of what Trump does, there's QAnon people who are entering Congress. You know, you have to understand the impact of that. I think they will continue to say their absolutely wacky stuff for the duration of their terms. And hopefully they will be so ostracized by left and right that they will lose in 2022. That would be the hope. It may not happen. We may see more QAnon stuff in 2022. I just don't know yet. So that's basically the lay of the land. I think that what Trump has done has irreversibly put millions of his supporters in the mindset that Biden is not legitimate. I'm hearing from them in my voicemail every single week. But the real question in terms of Biden for governance is how will Republican senators and members of Congress consider him? And I think for the most part, they will see him as the legitimate president. David, we're getting close to those Georgia runoffs. Can Joe Biden get anything done if Democrats don't win Georgia? So this is a different version of something we've been talking about. If Democrats are unable to win both of those races, making the Senate a 50-50 tie with Kamala Harris as the tie-breaking vote, I would be shocked if anything substantial is done from a legislative standpoint. Mitch McConnell will go back to the Obama playbook, as I talked about in the last segment: obstruct everything, offer no bipartisanship, period. In addition to that, even with winning the runoffs, there are lots of issues that are going to be a fight. When you consider, I know that it's almost cliche to say, but Joe Manchin from West Virginia is the most right-wing Democratic senator. There are lots of Biden ideas that I have a hard time imagining Joe Manchin goes for. Now, maybe you can find a Republican or two to go for them, even if Joe Manchin doesn't. But the next 2 years will be a very big uphill battle for Joe Biden legislatively, regardless of what happens in January in Georgia. Without those wins, nothing gets done. And Joe Biden will essentially have to govern by Pyrrhic compromise, where you have to give up so much in order to get Republicans to work with you that there's a question as to whether it's even a worthwhile exchange, and by executive order. Fortunately, Biden can get a lot of things done by executive order. And my hope is that what Biden can't do legislatively in these first 2 years, he can do via building goodwill and sort of reestablishing the U.S. as respectable globally, which our global reputation has been in the toilet thanks to Donald Trump. But then, the complicated part, the part where it gets tough, is even with both Senate seats, what of the big things can you actually get done? For really major things, you also need a supermajority, which Democrats with 50-50 and Kamala Harris as the tiebreaker aren't going to have. They'll be able to do the budget bill that only needs 50 votes. They can put some extras in it and see what else they can get done that way. They will be able to confirm Supreme Court justices if Joe Biden indeed gets to nominate anybody. And, maybe you can do some infrastructure. Maybe you can do, it's just health, climate, and tax reform seem really, really tough. And it's going to be an uphill battle. So that's my perspective at this point. And then, of course, there's this idea of do they do away with the filibuster? Divergent opinions on the left about that. Let's just wait and see what happens January 5th in Georgia before we have that conversation, because I think that let's not even waste our breath on that issue until we know what's going to happen in the state of Georgia. We have a great bonus show for you today. And remember, we are off next week. No new shows next week. Everybody relax. The show's not canceled. Just an end of the year break. So bonus show coming up right after this. Become a member at joinpakman.com to get instant access. And then nothing next week. And then back with you on Monday, January 4th, 2021. Thanks a lot for watching today's show. I just want to take a second to tell you about today's sponsors. Nebbia is a revolutionary showerhead that saves you money by using 45% less water, but with a stream of water that's way more powerful than what you get with other showerheads. To get 15% off, go to nebbia.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. Magic Spoon is the cereal that tastes exactly like the delicious cereals from your childhood, except it has no sugar, tons of protein, and only 3 net carbs, so it's perfect for a keto diet. To get free shipping, go to magicspoon.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. Blinkist is the app that helps you become a more well-rounded person by letting you read or listen to an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. You can try it for free and get 25% off a subscription by going to Blinkist.com/David Pakman.